I was born and raised here in Austin, Texas. And yeah, growing up around Austin, it was like sleepy enough and had enough imagination and weird stuff going on all the time. Sort of a fantasy 90s place. And although there was music all around me while I grew up, I never really thought of myself as musical or even really imagined myself like playing an instrument in the future. And then around 7th grade, I got dumped by my first girlfriend, and she loved guitar players. So I came up with this harebrained scheme to try and learn to shred on guitar over the summer to win her back, which didn't work. But the combination of me experiencing heartbreak for the first time and then discovering this seemingly magical outlet to vent all this shit through became something entirely new to me, and I was hooked. And soon thereafter, my grandma got me a Tascam 4-track for Christmas, and I just dove in. That became the heart and soul of like everything that I made later. A lot of these sounds that are on like the first record I made, like knee slaps and banjos and multiple voices, all came from those being literally the only things I had. You know, Shakey Graves is me. You know, like I respond to that. If you say, hey, Shakey, I'll be like, oh, you know? And it is, for a long time, it was important that it was just me. In the process of making music, there was something that I felt like I really needed to carve out as my own, or like some sort of expression or thing that I was nervous about sharing with people, you know, for a long time. I guess the order in which things came out is that first I made these recordings and then had no way to like replicate them live. So I would write a song and then like I wouldn't even know how to actually play it for you on an acoustic guitar. It wouldn't sound the same to me. So then that became the issue of how the suitcase drum came into play. And so to build this drum, I contacted the squirreliest person that I've ever met, and one of my dearest friends, this guy, Will Wolf. I believe Will Wolf can make anything out of anything else. He could probably make an airplane that flew fairly far out of lumber and stuff. And so came to him with the idea of the suitcase, and he sawed a floor tom in half and installed it inside of a Samsonite suitcase. He made this weird little floor plate and got like a children's drum kit set up. So it was like a toy kick pedal and a little toy tambourine thing. And the suitcase was born. It's like its functionality sort of outweighs its novelty, you know, that I can get a ton of sound out of just me. I realized that as soon as you had a drum involved, people would dance, you know, and something that I did not experience going around to coffee shops playing acoustic guitar for people was having them dance at all. That combined with the idea of being louder than bar patrons is where the necessity for a bigger show came out of.
My name is Alejandro Rose-Garcia. I'm reading for Sam.
And so at this point I was living in LA and really starting to kind of record the type of music that I wanted to make. Which a lot of those recordings, this was like 2009, a lot of those recordings are what created the first record, Roll the Bones. I kept wanting like bigger sounds in general and more things outside of me, like being able to whistle and slap on my legs and make drums out of keys and stuff. So the next thing I did was set out to make a studio album, which I didn't even really know what that meant. Just sort of decided to record with equipment that seemed better than Tascam 4-track and a computer that was gonna burn. At this point, it was like my first record came out, and then it was like I started to talk about it. Someone found it, I wrote it, there was like a blog, and then this happened, and then that happened, and then I did like a video, and then eventually 3-4 years had passed. It was like 2014, 13. And I was like, I want to make a big, shiny record. And at this point, I realized I just needed help. I needed help technologically. I needed help sonically. I needed someone to take it that extra step if I really wanted to make this something different than I'd done before. You know, the first part of that puzzle that I found was that I met a guy named Chris Busada, better known as Boo. I met Boo when he was running sound for a thing called Utopia Sessions.
And a bunch of people kept telling me about some ding-dong that was coming in who played a suitcase drum and was really good at guitar. And I was like, okay, cool, the suitcase thing, sure.
I would always tell sound guys how to EQ the suitcase, and some people would get it and some people wouldn't. It would sound, you know, different. And as soon as I mentioned it, he was like, I got you. And I really liked his general vibe.
And then he came in, I heard him playing, and really liked the guitar work and a lot of the melodies and the lyrical content, and just approached him afterwards.
Hey man, what's up? What are you doing? Blah, 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 this and that. And what's on the horizon? I was like, I want to make a record in a studio. He's like, I work at a studio in New York City. That's where I live right now. And I was like, well, I should come and record. He's like, what are you doing next month? I was like, coming to record with you. Second time I met him was at the studio, and went in and we made a song called Only Son, which ended up becoming the first song on the record that we did together, And the War Came. And so we did that one song, and then we did a couple other little side things, and then I came back, and then coincidentally he moved back to Austin.
The day that I had moved here, I was staying on my buddy Craig's futon, and the next morning I got a call, and it was from Ollie, and he's like, hey, is this Boo? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, have you moved here yet? I was like, I just got here yesterday. And I remember him saying, I'm coming to pick you up, we're gonna go get margaritas. So we went to Polvo's and had a lot of margaritas and started kind of just talking and bullshitting. And then I think maybe he went on tour, I think opening for Shovels and Rope pretty soon after that, and then when he came back, I told him that I brought a lot of my gear with me that I'd been collecting over the years. So I ended up taking a lot of that over to his house.
And that's where we recorded essentially the rest of that whole album. The way it felt to write with Esme, I had never really had, and still to this day have not really entirely had that same kind of instant connection with writing with somebody. Yeah, it was just undeniable for me. And so she would come into town, and me and Boo and her would sit in the house and try and come up with stuff, and we came up with the like stomp clap thing that became part of, became like the backbone of Dearly Departed all together one night. We were like, yeah, you know. But we had a great time, and it was like really leaned into the process of turning this house that I lived in into a recording studio. It was so much fun. And then, yeah, the record came out, and then it was like, how am I supposed to go and play this stuff in front of people? And Boo, at that point, he didn't even play drums. Together, we were like, I think you can do this. He's like, I think I can do this. And so we had him just suddenly be road drummer. And so then there were two, you know, it was like me and Boo. And so eventually it was like, we need to get a band together for this. You know, Boo's the drummer, and it's me, and then who to play lead guitar, so to speak. And I had just the person, and his name is Patrick O'Connor.
I was playing in a band called Lemon Sun, and Alejandro had come to see us for some reason.
At the time, Lemon Sun had like a rehearsal studio in one of these big, like, you know, old garment factories by the LA River. And me and Pat would go and hang out. We had instantly bonded on Star Trek and The Simpsons. And we were like, you're my boy.
Ollie had this kit. It was a Jameson kit that had some like rocks glasses, some tumblers, and this bottle of Jameson, and we would just sort of destroy a bottle of Jameson and scream at each other with like electric guitars. This is cool. We can like play as loud as we want.
It was great. It was like my favorite time. We'd go meet up with Pat late at night, and we would do these like long format jams in his practice space, and he had all this gear, and we would just get all excited, and it was like, one day, man, we'll start a band. You know, like we like, I saw like little glimpses of the future at the time, or that's what it felt like anyway. At the point that things started to work, and I was able to conceptualize actually having a band, he was the only person I really thought of, you know. Pat's nickname is Pat from the Pit, and the reason he's called that is because at a certain point, no one knew that I would have a guitar player on stage. So it'd be like me and Esme and Boo I'd start solo and then bring her out and we'd do like a duet.
There'd be a whole setup with a guitar and amp and everything, and no one would be filling that role. And so Alejandro would, at some point, be like, "Was there anyone? We're gonna play this song. Does anyone know how to play it?" And so at this point, I'm planted close-ish to the stage. Go me, me, me.
Like, let's give this boy a chance. And they'd like crowd surf him up on the stage and he'd get up there and like dance around and be like,
"Hi, what's your name?" "Patrick."
and then he'd put the guitar out and start shredding and people would go crazy.
Some people were in on the joke kind of right away, thought it was funny. Other people were just totally bought it. It was like, how did this kid get up there and he's doing it, he's playing the song. And then other people were kind of angry about it. Why are you duping us?
It was great. It was like wildly fun, and eventually it just was too hectic. We stopped doing it. Having the low end, like bringing a bass player / keys player in was always sort of in the back of the mind, like really, really important. And Boo knew exactly who. He was like, there's this guy, John. And so like, John and Boo have a similar kind of path to me and Pat. You know, they've been friends for a long time.
Oh, no way.
This guy knows what I'm talking about. Man. Fuck yeah!
Where did you first meet John Shaw?
I first met John Shaw when I moved to New York. I got a job at Guitar Center, working in the pro audio section, slinging recording gear. And I met John cozily chilling in the office. I don't know, he's probably counting receipts or doing something that was very chill.
What's your first memory of Boo?
I don't know. It's got to be something from Guitar Center. Probably him like pumping some jam in the pro audio room. I was like, oh, tight. And then, yeah.
We had put a band together that we were in for about 4 years. That band was called The Beasts of Eden. Now, I can't remember if it was through the label or who it was, but we ended up getting an offer to go out to Cabo.
Oh, yeah. Cabo. This is how we're doing it.
It was actually for Playboy. It was for the Playboy music issue. And so we go out there and we partied for like a week.
So far, the trip's been pretty money.
Played some really, really funny shows. Sat around in cabanas eating sushi and taking photographs with playmates for a while.
We were all at Sasquatch Music Festival, which doesn't exist anymore. And that was the first time I got to meet him. He was there with Sharon Van Etten. And he's played with like Cass McCombs and Bob Weir and the Campfire Band. And also, he's an incredible musician. He's definitely like, of the four of us, he knows what he's doing. so it seems. John Shaw. I can't even, anything before him seems like it's so long ago. He's such a close part of my family now, you know? And that's kind of what all this touring really does, is it blurs the line between coworker and fraternity brother and, you know, actual brother and roommate. Once we've finally formed as a four-piece band and we started playing, it's like our sound, I've sort of gotten to sit back and let our sound together become something entirely new. The last record that we put out, Can't Wake Up, is you know, sort of to me the last part of a narrative puzzle that I've been building since even just the inception of me wanting to be Shakey Graves. I had always imagined it being sort of a, you know, anywhere from like stripped down country to big sonically lush sort of indie music. It's kind of the spectrum through which I wanted this project to be, but the only thing I had ever been able to cover was stripped down country music. So eventually, the recording ability, our talent playing together, and the right people made this record that was the most collaboration I've done, you know, with the band, where like we really wrote a lot of that all together. There wasn't a ton of music in that record that I did entirely just by myself at all. Yeah, and there was, all these elements of like collaboration really kind of came through. Our dear friend Raylan Baxter kept mysteriously appearing in the most random places. And so he kind of became the secret Beatle in Can't Wake Up. Either he was stalking us like really, really well, or the gods are crazy, like always.
What's going on? But it's nice,
All of these lessons of collaboration and sort of letting there be push and pull and still having a narrative voice, but the band kind of becoming its own thing, has been growing. It was like within the last year where we were in Vienna, literally. And we were just talking about like the future of recording and Can't Wake Up and, basically all this stuff we've been talking about. And I was like, let's just get a spot. And it was a sort of like instant realization that we were just going to. I've never had like a static setup, Even when my house was the studio, when we decided to take it on the road, it was like pulled everything out of it and then you'd have to set it all back up. And I never had a place where I could go and just flip everything on and it would boot to life and I could just make stuff. And right now, this studio that we have is something that I feel like, whether or not I realize it, I've been working towards this for a really long time. And it's almost like a dream where it's like, oh yeah, and then you were there and you were there, and I hadn't met all the people yet. And now suddenly I feel like I have the pieces to build something new. And I know what the pieces look like, but I don't know what the thing is yet. It's like a step into an entirely new house, like in a new city, kind of. And so this studio and this project all at the same time is kind of the first bit of me like shining a flashlight around in the dark. If you've followed the music that I make in any way, you should know that me, least of all, takes myself that seriously, And I make stuff because I'm curious and because I like making stuff. And this that you're watching, that we're making, is just step 40 or whatever. This is me wanting to film the walking into this new house. Yeah, I just couldn't be more excited about all of the question marks that are in front of me, and the stuff that's gonna come out of this studio space. All the songs and moments and time I get to spend in this building and really bring these people I love into it and hopefully make some really weird magic happen. That's what this place is gonna be.
Hello Gorgeous is this studio and it's this state of mind.
Hello Gorgeous is an ongoing endeavor that's taking shape as we speak.
It's something that I think we should say to each other every time we see each other. Hello, gorgeous.
It's our, happy place to come and mess around and make jams and...
I think it's a mantra going on right now. I think it's gonna be a part of something in the near future. But this is where we are right now. Hello, gorgeous.
As of now, I exist. It takes a little while to get used to this rotation. Either way, I'll make it through the day. What I wouldn't do for a little motivation to look alive. Look alive, it's over in no time. So look alive. into the night. As of late, nothing's set in stone. I haven't learned a thing since 1987. Please don't make me wait. Is anybody home? Give me something new. I can't go on pretending to look alive. Look alive. It's over in no time. So look alive. Look alive. It's over in no time. So look alive. Yeah, look alive. Hello, hello, I'm gorgeous. Awful kind of you to notice that love is real, so drive it like you stole it off into the night. The world is scratching at your window. Time is always keeping tempo. Hello, gorgeous, sweet and simple. Hello, my Son of man, mother of God, money to burn. Board of education, son of man, mother of God, money to burn. Age of information, son of man, mother of God, money to burn. Board of education, son of man, mother of God, money to burn. Age of information, son of God, mother of man, money to burn. Board of education, son of God, mother of man, money to burn. Age of information, son of God, mother of man, money to burn. Age of innovation, son of man, mother of God, money to burn. Board of education. Board of education.
It's like the Matrix. And this crazy, and I, and that
I love more growing extremely.
You want to see a dead body?